Welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Pastor Rick Utze from Maranatha in Plain City, Ohio. You know, one of the things I noticed this time of year when you're driving around and looking at landscapes and yards, what do you notice? I mean, it's, springtime. You notice the flowering trees, like the trees are flowering right now. If you've got a weeping cherry or pear trees, right, you can just see the blooms. But what else do you see in the yards? And particularly, they're yellow, and they're dandelions. Now, you can tell by driving around that people have a different opinion of dandelions. Like, in our yard, we don't have many, right? It'd be nice if we had zero. But in other people's yards or fields, you see just like they're growing them, like they want them. So what's the difference between my yard and somebody else's yard? Now, my yard's not perfect. There are some who have zero dandelions, right? What's the difference? It's the desire. It is what's inside a person and what they want. If you want a dandelion-free yard, you've got to do something to have a dandelion-free yard. Because if you do nothing, what happens? You're going to have dandelions. They just grow like crazy. I mean, it is a fruit that requires no work. You don't have to go out and plant them. You don't have to cultivate and water and all that. They're just there. They're obvious. They show up. And I got to thinking about our own lives. What is it that is obvious in us? Or what is the result of our own hearts? And Galatians 5:16-18 says it like this. I say then, walk by the Spirit. Now this is talking to Christians. And previously it talked about how people were consuming and devouring and biting one another, right? That the church wasn't doing so hot. And he says, I say then, walk by the Spirit, and you will certainly not carry out the desire of the flesh. It's not just about externals, it's about the internal desires. It says, for the flesh desires what is against the Spirit, and the Spirit desires what is against the flesh. These are opposed to each other so that you don't do what you want to do. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. So basically, there's a conflict going on in the Christian. Either you're going to have the desires of your old nature, your flesh. You're going to do what you want to do. And he goes on to list what those are. He goes on to list what the works of the flesh are and what the fruits of the Spirit are. And they are totally opposite. And that's why you see this conflict. In Christians, you're gonna have conflict going on. But how do you know which one wins? Like, how do you get from all kinds of dandelions in the yard? It says those works of the flesh are obvious to all, to less dandelions in your yard. And you walk by the Spirit. You're led by the Spirit and you walk after the Spirit. It's kind of like, you ever seen ducks and their little ducklings and they walk in a row? Like the ducklings are keeping in step with Mama Duck. And they're walking behind, closely behind to her, and they're following her lead. And the Holy Spirit, if we have the Holy Spirit by believing in Jesus Christ, you have Him. You're going to walk by Him. And then the fruits that aren't so obvious are going to start showing up. You're going to start getting the weeping cherry blossoms, the roots that go deep into the love of God. You're going to start seeing those things come out and less dandelions in your yard. Because, it says in Galatians 5:24, a few verses later, those who belong to Jesus Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. So if you want less dandelions, you put weed killer on. Right? If you want less dandelions in your heart, you've crucified those passions and desires, like the anger and the immorality and the envy and the deceit and conceit, right? And the bitterness and all those things, right? Those are on the cross, like you put nails in them. Don't take them out. We love to sometimes, maybe we can loose them a little and they'll come back off the cross and we can enjoy them for a while. No. Keep them on the cross. You crucify them. And we walk then after the Spirit. Like we follow His lead. So let's keep those crucified. And I think the center thing that drives all of it is love. You know, love is the one, when you look at the fruits, it's kind of like the foundation of knowing the love of God and then expressing that love to others. And so in life, if you and I aren't willing to give love, somebody's not going to get the love they really need, and they're not going to see the love of Christ. Because love isn't self-centered, it is other-centered, it is giving. And so if we don't give, there's not going to be enough love in the world, and people are going to miss out on the love of Christ. So let's walk after the Spirit. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Bottom Line.